Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Contra with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's Marvel books as well as one of this week's DC books, as well as and a Boom Studios book, and now it's on to this week's Batman books. Basically, the majority of what DC puts out anymore. Kicking things off, though, we've got Detective Comics number 1052. Where we left off in Shadows of the Bat, a riot had seemingly broken out at Arkham Tower when Psycho Pirate passed out from exhaustion of basically keeping everyone on, keeping everyone calm. He then made everyone sleep and forget. And we finally and we learned that yes, Dr. Ocean isn't the mysterious Dr. Ocean is actually Psycho Pirate. So the issue begins. We see the first time that Chase Meridian met Batman. She'd been suspended from a she'd been tied to a flagpole with an explosive detonator strapped to her hand, and Batman saved her. She, at the time, she kind of thought that maybe the Bat family wasn't exactly looking out for the best interests of the city, but that changed when one of them saved her life. So we begin with in the moments before the riot began, Huntress beginning her session. But then Psycho Pirate passes out. Shit hits the fan, and one of the orderlies actually gets a video of the mess hall fight going on. Chase calls Dr. Frau, ends up leaving a voicemail. The next morning, Dr. Meridian wakes up in her office and passed out against the door and is informed there was a gas leak. That's what happened. But Batwoman plays the voicemail from Dr. Meridian. However, Dr. Ware caught it and took care of the problem by firing Dr. Frau. And also had Meridian make a call, explain that she was so sorry about the message. So there's a gas leak. She overreacted. Just really embarrassed. Acting under the influence of Psycho Pirate, obviously. But talking about what Meridian's told Frau, they realize that the party crashers are likely operating out of the same tunnels that the Bat family is. So, the Bat family crashes the party crashers' party, and Huntress is trying to figure out why there's blood on her hands, and just what. And written under her bed are the words, "His hold is breaking." Most likely written in blood. And that is where the Tower Part 6 ends. Which brings us to our backup story, House of Gotham. where we left off, the boy had begun working for, or had been adopted by and began working for, the Penguin. And honestly, Penguin treated him fairly well. The boy and one of Penguin's other young kids are at an ice creamery in Gotham when a young Jason Todd comes upon them. Apparently, Jason knew the other boy, and they talked. They talk a bit with the other boy explaining that the two of them killed people for the Penguin. Jason informs Bruce Wayne of this, and the other kid, Elliot, turns out he's been stealing from the Penguin for months, and now it's the boy's turn to do so. However, in the middle of things, Batman shows up. But the boy activates one of the security measures, leaving Penguin with Batman, and he escapes, running into Robin. However, he realizes he's seen Robin before. But the boy is taken away, and he screams that Batman's making an army of young boys, which is something that actually has been brought up previously in the Bat books, that to a degree, the way Batman trains Robin, it's more like he's got an army of child soldiers. But anyway, good issue. Both stories. I'm not gonna. I'd love to read the House of Gotham in a completed edition where I just read through the entire thing all at once. But I guess we'll see if that happens when Shadows of the Bat is collected. But yeah, I have to admit, I'm one of the currently Detective Comics is one of the books I look forward to pretty much every week now. So yeah, and I'm going to be sad when it goes back to not being, when it stops being weekly. Because yeah, moving on to our next book though, we got Batgirls #3. Where we left off, the Batgirls had come upon Tudor, and it seemed as though Stephanie was being influenced by the gases he's using, as was the gathered crowd. They tell Barbara about this, but they plan to crash the unveiling of his big art exhibit. They do so. The art exhibit is actually a giant spire of stolen high-end goods, with quite a few of the people in attendance realizing, hey, that one right there is mine. But Tudor live streams and starts a live stream, and he's pulling off. It's kind of the whole let go of the material world type of shtick. But Cassandra and Stephanie managed to find him. The gas he's using is yet another modified version of fear toxin, because it seems that shit's just you probably just kick a dumpster, and a can of modified fear toxin falls off because what was holding it in place finally gave out. Also, during things, at the whole thing, Barbara runs into an old boyfriend of hers. But once again, Stephanie's exposed to gas that Tudor's using a lot, enabling Tudor to get away. As he gets away, however, he catches the eye of the Saints. However, they are not. He's not a primary target, and they figure that Batgirls will be following. So, but Steph's feeling kind of down, feeling like she's a liability to the three of them. Cassandra tries to reassure her. All of them go to bed. Cassandra returns a stolen pot to one of their neighbors. Before going to bed, though, Batgirls receives a call, seemingly from Nightwing, thinking about her, but it turns out to actually be Seer. She's a voice modulator and having, cloned cell phone, and basically sends a broadcast directly to Oracle's or to Barbara's new Oracle network. And basically saying that was here basically saying that they're coming to get Barbara. That is where the issue ends. Fun book. Again, Batgirls has been consistently fun. I like the dynamics between between Stephanie and Cassandra, especially with when Stephanie has her moment of feeling like she's a liability, and Cassandra's trying to reassure her, but sadly it doesn't work. At least it doesn't seem to. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got I Am Batman, number 6. Where we left off, after his sister came out of her coma, Jace Fox was given the opportunity to relocate with at least part of his family to New York, and he's decided to do so. But we open with some some quick panels during a meeting of the New York mayor's inner circle, with looking at pictures of Batman. Well, what the mayor says he wants to do is have a special task force that works with Batman, not that works against him. The police commissioner's against it, but oh well. But he will do as he's told, but he won't like it. Jace and his mother talk about how he feels he doesn't entirely feel right living in Billionaire's Row. But Jacob Chubb is approached by the deputy mayor and asked to lead the unit that works with Batman. She demands that her former partner from the GCPD, Detective Whitaker, be sent down as well. They're set up to help her. So the deputy mayor makes it clear that he has no strong opinions whatsoever about there being a Batman in New York. It's just okay. It's the thing that's happening. He's looking out for his political career. But Jay speaks with Vol. Chubb and Whitaker talk about the situation, but apparently the mayor has called for a meeting with Batman, and Batman goes to talk to him, agrees to the mayor's terms, takes his deal, as it were, and the commissioner is not too happy about this, saying that the mayor is nothing but a woke idealist who thinks that with enough SJWs he can trip into another term. The deputy mayor says that while the mayor is an idealist, he at least believes he's doing what's right for the city. Deputy Mayor Carmichael believes that he's got a political future, and his future is not getting screwed just because the mayor decides he's got a fascination with masks. But while the commissioner and the deputy mayor are talking, someone is watching. And that someone has apparently left a body for the NYPD to find. And that is where the issue ends. I like it so far. It's an interesting take to see. It's always interesting to see different takes on the concept of in comics of bodies of authority trying to work with heroes as opposed to treating them as being just as bad as criminals they take down. So it's going to be very interesting to see where things go with I Am Batman moving forward. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Batman Urban Legends number 12. So, as per usual, we got 4 stories. First off is Bound to Our Will with Batman and Zatanna. They were doing the annual ritual they always do, but something went wrong, and someone else appeared to be involved, and things gone purely sideways. Batman has to get a good look at what is going on, and the woman that was responsible for things going as wrongly as they did. Well, she's got a partner with her who seems to thrive. Get by on life forces. Turns out, however, that Batman had bought a place near where they do their ritual. It was a place where him and Zatanna had gone on multiple occasions to wind down afterwards. But apparently Zatanna feels like the whole ritual afterwards, Bruce has to push her away. However, there's a perimeter, as in the middle of their conversation, the perimeter breach. Batman goes to investigate, only to discover it's none other than John Constantine. Here to make sure that Batman and Zatanna don't completely fade into nothingness. Which is where that part of the story ends. Next up, we've got Stigma featuring the White Witch. Where we left off here, it's more just kind of exploring White Witch's past. She is cloned, and after a certain point, the clones are terminated. But the doctor's trying to work with her. There's a doctor working with Sane Industries, trying to help her retain her memories. Including her memories from being a soldier, having a life before Simon Saint, but the doctor gives her a book, Soldier of the Mist, and she reads it, seemingly memorizing it, but the doctor's taken away, and Simon Saint once again kills yet another White Witch, which is where this part of the story ends. Which brings us to our next segment, Eternity in Gotham, featuring Eternity. Where we left off, Eternity was on Earth in the guise of a coroner's assistant with the GCPD, and one of his neighbors had been seemingly killed. But he's awakened by another neighbor. They find the body, call the cops. And apparently the thing that he does, where he can he can basically take the hand of a recently deceased person and usually find their soul and to find out what happened. But it seems that the other neighbor, Regina, might be involved in the death. Which is where this part of the story ends. Which brings us to our final story for the issue, Hounded, featuring Ace the Bat Hound. Where we left off, while going up against some Hugo Strange and some Russian mob types, Batman was incapacitated, and Ace the Bat Hound was taken prisoner and returned to to the Gotham Pet Cemetery, where he had been initially kept years previously. But local an employee for mob boss Mr. Tarkov comes by to see just what all they're doing at the pet cemetery. They've taught a chicken how to play chess, and they're doing speed trials with the tortoise. And trying to figure, but it's more what to do with Ace. Turns out they also trained a dog, especially for Lex Luthor. However, it turns out that Luthor is allergic to dogs. There's also a pickpocketing squirrel. And Ace, apparently is labeled for being retrained. Then there's a bear who used to sit outside one of the clubs, and we see that apparently this bear, at least at one point, didn't necessarily bite a guy's hand off, but did bite the guy's arm. Batman comes to, and he's informed that any tracking software isn't gonna get out of the room, but he kind of just says, "Yeah, okay, fine." Doesn't mean I'm not gonna get out. Ace manages to free himself, however, and then ends up freeing Ursa, as well as the chess-playing chicken, and the squirrel, and the fast tortoise. Pardon me. They make their escape, and at the same time, Herbert Schwann, who runs the cemetery, is being honored as one of Gotham's philanthropists. He puts on a nice little song and dance about caring for animals and so on and so forth, as the quintet of animals escapes the Gotham Pet Cemetery, which is where the issue ends. I don't think there's been a single issue in the past year that Urban Legends have been coming out. I don't think there's been a single issue I haven't enjoyed. Some I may have enjoyed more than others, but yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Batman and Catwoman, number 10. Where we left off, a lot of stuff going on in 3 different time periods, including the fact that in a future time period, Catwoman has murdered the Joker. Been arrested, escaped, and, well, yeah. That said, her daughter Helena is not happy about that. But, so the main... It's kind of the same thing in 3 different points. Catwoman the first two timelines, it's Catwoman and Joker going head to head. Joker taunting Catwoman. In the future, we've got Helena and Selena talking. But the big thing is that all the time that Catwoman's been working with Batman, she's come to a conclusion about Joker. Whereas herself, Penguin, Riddler, various others, they all do have, actual mental issues that being in a mental hospital would help. Joker doesn't. He pretends to. It's all part of his act. But she explains this to Helena, and that she could never tell Bruce that because he'd realize Because she kind of says the same thing. You know, she tells Joker the same thing applies to Batman as applies to him. But and that's this issue. I'm going to leave us 2 more left in the series. That thought that basically the Joker knows exactly what he's doing. That is an interesting thought. I mean, it definitely makes for a good, or even scarier, for things being even creepier about him, because if he knows what he's doing, if he's fully aware, and it's not just even just psychopathy. That's even worse. I would say. But anyway, moving on to our last book for the week, we've got Future State Gotham number 10. Where we left off, the next Joker was attacking the terrible trio, having already killed the Court of Owls, and now currently going after Tobias Whale, while Peacekeeper Red is trying to apprehend him with the help of Hunter Panic. Meanwhile, Dick Grayson has been recruited to help Talia al Ghul in finding her missing son, Damien. By which she expects him to utilize the drug Brain, which he's already been using. Supposedly, if one uses Brain enough, they can develop a degree of psychic powers, more of the precognitive type, not the telepathic type. So, Hunter Panic and Peacekeeper Red find the apartment of one of the deceased members of the terrible trio, and he's going after the next Joker is going after Tobias Whale, and currently the next Batman is fighting the next Joker, and it's not going well. But Peacekeeper Red and Hunter Panic show up, all while Hush is watching. Talia goes to buy a large amount of Brain, and the dealer attempts to double-cross her until her enforcer Ubu arrives to set them straight. Of course, it's not actually Ubu. It is, in fact, Nightwing. But Tobias Whale's ship crashes. Whale's arrested by Peacekeeper Red. However, the next Joker proves to still be alive, though his helmet has been removed, and, well, they ought to run. However, Peacekeeper 3 demands to know what's going on. Some things are overheard, and Peacekeeper Magistrate Jones are sent out. However, one of the big ones, including big ones, one of which slams his hand down on the next Joker. But the next Joker's got some nanotech, which he infects the Peacekeepers with, turning them into his own robot army. And the story ends with next Joker saying it's a party. We have a backup story as well. Fudge. Driven. I think this also appeared in an issue of Black and White, but basically talking about what it takes to make repairs to the Batmobile, or to each Batmobile. It's not exactly an easy. It's never an easy fix, even if it should be. You know, sometimes you have to custom order specific parts from from one company halfway around the world. It goes through a dozen shell companies, and yeah. But Bruce is the only mechanic who can work on it. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It's a fun little story with largely with Bruce and Alfred. But that is and the A story. This whole thing with the next Joker is definitely very interesting read thus far. Anyway, that'll do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.